Hello, welcome to Vectors of Medical Importance. So let's get started with some of the vectors in the class Arachida. Here we are going to deal with ticks, mites, spiders and scorpions. So let's start with ticks. Now ticks are in the phylum Arthropoda that we already know, and they are in the class Arachnida that also you already know. So how do these Arachnida group differ from the insects? Let's see how they differ from the insects. Now when we learn about insects, we said they have head, thorax and abdomen. That means their body is divided into three parts. Now these ones, the Arachnida group, they do not have a separate head. They instead have a false head. An Arachnida has four pairs of legs. In comparison, the insects have three pairs of legs. And also, there are certain structures which are present in insects which are not present in Arachnida. They are the wings, antenna, and compound eyes. Now, some of the insects had wings, most insects had antenna, and generally all of them have compound eyes. Those are all absent in Arachnida class. So let's move on to the types of ticks that we are interested in terms of medical important ones. We start with soft ticks and hard ticks. Now the soft ticks are oval in appearance. Now they have a body tegument which are like a leather sheet, and there is no scutum. Scutum is kind of a bit of hardened structure which are present in hard ticks, which is absent in soft ticks. And the other difference, especially from the hard tick, is that now these mouth parts are generally not seen in the soft ticks. In terms of in the hard tick, of course, the mouth parts can be seen from above. If you look at the tick from above, in the hard tick, you can see the mouth parts, but in soft ticks, you cannot see the mouth parts. They are rather hidden underneath. And soft ticks are bloodsuckers. Now these ones you have seen commonly in certain instances. People call them kilitulu. The life cycle, let's see, of the soft tick. Now these soft ticks lay eggs, and these eggs become larvae, and the larvae develop into nymphal stages, which are look-alike but smaller versions of the adult, and these nymphal stages grow into adults later on. The soft ticks generally they lay eggs in the cracks and crevices in the walls. If there are any cracks and crevices in the walls of the house, those are the good places for them to lay eggs. So what's the medical importance of soft ticks? We have seen all these soft ticks on animals. So why are we talking about it? Because they can bite us. Their bite is quite painful. So they can attack the men who are working closely with animals. Like for example, the poultry yard workers can get attacked by these soft ticks, and so they will get sort of a painful bite. And in addition, the soft ticks can transmit certain diseases, like they act as vectors of diseases. For example, tick-borne relapsing fever, which is caused by the Borrelia species, is one disease which is one organism, and then it causes tick-borne relapsing fever to humans. The vector there is the soft. So let's move on to the control. Now control is by protecting yourself, that is wearing long sleeve clothes or wearing boots. Basically, you're trying to protect yourself from being bitten by the soft ticks. And the other thing is good housing. That means when there are no cracks and crevices on the walls, then there are less chance of them breeding or having eggs deposited in those places. So that is another way of controlling this. In addition, usually we can use insecticides to kill these Arachnida group of soft ticks as well. So this is the appearance of hard ticks. Now they are called ixodids and generally vary in size. And I told you the hard ticks have a sort of hardened structure called scutum. It's like a shield at the dorsal side of their back. So, based on the shape of the scutum, basically the size of the scutum, we can differentiate whether it's a male or a female. Generally, in the male, the scutum covers the entire dorsal surface, whereas the female's scutum is smaller, as if it is wearing a short dress kind of. So, only part of the body is covered with the females by the scutum. And generally, the scutum is present in all stages of development, whether it is nymph or larvae, they have the scutum. And the other difference from the soft ticks, as I said, the mouth parts are terminal so that they can be seen from above. When you look above the hard ticks, and then you look for the structural morphological appearance, you can see the mouth parts jutting out from the one end, from the anterior end. So this is just to show you the male and the female. You can see the large scutum of the male compared to the small scutum of the female. And generally the male and the female, if you compare the two, the male is smaller in size. So moving on to the life cycle, now they have the usual stages that I said about soft tick as well, that is eggs are laid by the adult female, and these eggs hatch and release larvae, and these larvae can develop into nymphal stages, and the nymphal stages grow into adults. Okay. So what is the medical importance of hard ticks? Now they also cause painful bites like the soft tick. So painful bites are common to both hard tick and the soft tick. In addition, hard tick cause a condition called tick paralysis. That is of course due to the toxins in the saliva of some of the species of hard tick. So when you get bitten by them, that toxin can cause a kind of paralysis of the body, that is called tick paralysis. And hard ticks are also involved in disease transmission like that of SARS. So these are few examples of diseases transmitted by hard ticks. You can see that they can transmit viral diseases, bacterial diseases, rickettsias, biofecal, protozoal diseases. So these are the kind of diseases. The other column shows you the kind of diseases which are transmitted by the heart. So moving on, this is how you can control the hard ticks and the soft ticks both. Now here we are going to talk about hard ticks. In fact, we can use insecticide chemicals to kill the hard ticks. We can also use certain chemicals on the domestic animals which have hard ticks on them, so that we can kill again the hard ticks on the pet animals or the other domestic animals. And the other thing is these hard ticks, I mean, apart from the domestic pets and the animals, there are these various rodents which harbor the hard ticks. So if we use, kill or eliminate or um, not let the rodents come into your house, that way also you can prevent getting infected with hard ticks. And then the other thing is protective clothing, that is where tick-proof clothing in the sense of boots or long sleeve clothes and so on and so forth. So those are the control measures against hard tick. So now we are moving on to mites. Now in the mites, we are talking about the specific mite called Sarcoptes scabiei. Now this is the one which is commonly called scabies mite, which causes scabies. In Sinhalese it is called polyp. So this scabies, the main feature is intensely pruritic. That means people feel like scratching a lot. It's quite itchy, and it can transmit from one person to another easily. It is close contacts, continuous contact or long-term contact can transmit the scabies mite to another person. And so this is not an uncommon disease seen in Sri Lanka, especially in lower social classes. Or it is also, the scabies is also seen in poor quality of life places or congested places. So now let's see the adult morphology of scabies mite. Generally, these are small, flattened, disc-like ones, and they have four pairs of short, stumpy legs, short with chubby legs, and like in most of the others, the female is larger than the male, and there is a difference between the male and the female. Now, if you take the male first, now male has two. It's now I said it has four pairs of legs. So out of the four pairs, the first two pairs and the last pair have suckers in the male, to grab the female well. The female, on the other hand, has only suckers in the first two pairs of the legs. Okay, so the female have suckers in the first two pairs of legs, whereas the male has first two pairs, and in addition, the last pair also has suckers. So the rest of the pairs, which are not, which don't have suckers, which do not end with suckers, end with bristles. Let's see the life cycle. The eggs are hatched and the larvae is released, and the nymphal stages are released. Larvae grow into nymphal stages, and then the nymphal stages grow into adult. So moving on to the transmission. Now this is through direct and prolonged contact between hosts that I mentioned earlier as well. The infectious stage is fertilized female mite. When there is prolonged direct contact of two hosts, I mean an infected one and an uninfected one, the fertilized female can move from the infected one to the uninfected person, and so it can spread from one person to another. So how do we diagnose scabies? Generally, it's a clinical diagnosis. Laboratory um, confirmation is requested only less commonly. If we have to confirm it via laboratory methods, uh, we have to demonstrate that the mite is in the skin. Generally, these mites are found in a small tunnel-like structure in the skin, under the skin. Generally, they are in the superficial skin. They don't go beyond the stratum corneum of the skin. So when you look for the mite, generally the mite is found at the distal end, at the end of the tunnel. So all you have to do is scrape a bit of using needle or scalpel blade tip, and take from the end of the tunnel onto a glass slide and look under the microscope. So when you look under the microscope, you can see the mite, you can see eggs of scabies, or even fecal matter, because what happens is when they deposit on the skin, they burrow into the skin. They dig a tunnel in the skin, and while they are digging the tunnel, they lay eggs. The female they lay eggs, and they sort of lay feces in the tunnel itself, and those things can be seen when you look under the microscope. Now the eggs also can hatch while they are in the tunnel, and then the larvae can burrow lateral tunnels to the main tunnel, and so you can see all these structures, the different stages of the mites as well under the microscope if you take a scraping from the tunnel. This is how you see them under the microscope. This is the mite, and this is the mite that you are seeing, and then this side on what you see here The circled area is the fecal matter of the mite. So that's all about the vectors of medical information.